Coming up on Brookland News Live, we will bring you the latest update on day 45 of the war in Iran, and what a busy day it is over in DC, specifically over on Capitol Hill, where Swalwell and Gonzalez have now resigned. Gonzalez retiring, and Christians weighing in after this post by President Donald Trump, which is an image appearing to depict him as a Jesus-like figure. He denies that. We'll talk about it, tell you what Christians are now saying, and what the White House is saying. And your forecasts are going to bring you an update where things stand there on this pretty warm day. Plus, Apple to launch folding phone. You're looking at a look at the design before it has been released, set to release this fall. We're going to talk about it later in this show, all on this edition of Brookland News Live.
It's time for all the news you need and more. Brookland News Live starts right now.
And good to be with you on this Tuesday, April 14th. It is 2:02 right here in Brooklyn, 12:02 on the West Coast, and 3:02 on the East. I'm Jackson Mitchell. A beautiful Tuesday. Before we get you started here on the news headline, to look right now at that iDrive Arkansas camera there in Brooklyn. It is a warm day, that's for sure. Let's dive into those headlines. We're going to start with the latest on the war in Iran. We'll take you to this camera that we're going to be watching every day right now, that Strait of Hormuz traffic, but also that Beirut, Lebanon camera, because what we can tell you is that negotiations are ongoing, set to begin at least soon here between Beirut, Lebanon, and the Iranian people, with Marco Rubio being kind of the middleman here, so we know that is to come. So now, as we take a look at those two cameras, President Trump now saying that after negotiations fell apart in Pakistan, we're talking now about the U.S. and Iran war. Iran has come back in hopes to end this war ahead of the ending of the 2-week ceasefire, which is coming very soon. This is President Trump yesterday on the White House lawn.
Round of talks planned with Iran, and if so, will you send Vice President J.D. Vance there?
Well, he's done a good job, and Steve and Jared, they've all done a very good job, and I can tell you that we've been called by the other side. They'd like to make a deal very badly, very badly.
What was the sticking point over? You said it was over nuclear.
It was over nuclear, very similar, yeah, very good. I guess you're listening. It's over the fact that they will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran, you marking it down? Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And we agreed to a lot of things, but they didn't agree to that. And I think they will agree to it. I'm almost sure of it.
So now President Trump's saying that he believes the Iranians will agree to not have the nuclear weapon, which is, as we talked about before, obviously is the point of this entire war. The U.S. didn't believe it was right for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And according to the Associated Press, as we noted a few moments ago, there are plans for a second round of talks, I should say, after the original 21 hours of negotiation with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Vice President J.D. Vance. Now, the U.S. is continuing its naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, and that's why we've kind of got that feed pulled up for you. I'll pull it up full screen here. We're watching for Strait of Hormuz traffic to see exactly who's making it in, who's making it out, as we'll talk about oil prices here in a moment, but this is of course still affecting those oil prices. Now, the Washington Journal is also out with a new report on how the U.S. is exactly blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Let's play that for you.
The U.S. began imposing a blockade of ships going into and out of Iranian ports on Monday as President Trump upped the pressure on Tehran.
We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world, because that's what they're doing.
Here's a look at some of the equipment and forces in the region poised to carry out the blockade. First, there are more than 15 warships in the Middle East that could support the blockade in a variety of ways, from launching teams in helicopters to go take control of a ship, to driving up alongside vessels and forcing them to turn around. Navy officials and analysts ships will likely operate outside of the Persian Gulf and beyond the Strait of Hormuz to avoid the risks of going near Iran's coastline. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier has been operating in the Arabian Sea since the beginning of the war. It has a large flight deck and could easily be used as a base for aerial boardings, similar to how the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier was used to launch helicopters for tanker seizures near Venezuela. The USS Tripoli amphibious assault ship is also in the Middle East, and aboard it is a Marine unit that is trained to intercept ships. The Tripoli is like a mini aircraft carrier, so it could also deploy boarding teams on helicopters, or for smaller vessels, it could send teams out on boats. Keep in mind, not every vessel approaching Iranian ports is a giant oil tanker, so in some cases, the US may try to approach ships on the water rather than by air. Then there are several guided missile destroyers in the region that have small flight decks and could be used to launch helicopters or small boats. Or they could be used to sail up to and marshal commercial vessels into a specific area to prevent them from moving. The US has other...
Yeah, so there's a lot of crew in the Middle East ready for anything at any time. CENTCOM taking to social media today to say, quote, more than 10,000 U.S. sailors, Marines, and airmen, along with over a dozen warships and dozens of aircraft, are executing the mission to blockade ships entering and departing Iranian ports. During the first 24 hours, no ships made it past the U.S. blockade, and 6 merchant vessels compiled with direction from U.S. forces to turn around to re-enter an Iranian port on the Gulf of Oman. It goes on to say the blockade is being enforced in partially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas. Now, this leads you to ask, okay, before all of this, the Strait of Hormuz was being blocked by Iran, so how is the control kind of changed here? Because that's the question I was asking when I first heard about this, and I was trying to find somebody with the answer. And today, when I was researching for the show, I kind of did find a little bit of an answer here, because how all of a sudden it goes from Iran was closing the Strait of Hormuz to the U.S. now controlling who enters and exits Strait of Hormuz, which is very similar here to kind of what Iran was doing originally. So I want to play a piece from ABC News' podcast, Start Here, where they address that. Take a listen.
Israel. Ian, I'm just trying to picture this. So if you're in a cargo ship, your plan is to go into the Persian Gulf. That means you're going through the strait. Iran is on your right. The Gulf states are all on your left. What happens? Like, what is the scenario for you?
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is exactly as you mentioned. If you're heading to another country, for example, say Iraq, the port of Basra, then there won't be a problem. You'll be allowed safe passage. If there's any plan to enter or leave any Iranian port along the entire coastline, then you will be stopped or turned back by the US Navy, presumably with the threat of force. In fact, we even saw 2 vessels that were turned back in the first few hours of this blockade coming into place.
I didn't like seeing boats come out if they were doing business with Iran, but if they weren't, no boats came out. So now Iran is doing absolutely no business, and we're going to keep it that way very easily.
But they're very dangerous waters. You mentioned Iran's navy being decimated, but the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which, if you like, is a kind of vanguard of the regime, the military vanguard of the regime, they have these fast boats. So they continue to represent a threat. They have not been decimated the way the rest of the navy's been decimated.
Yeah, so kind of the answer to that question is that the Navy was decimated, therefore it led them to kind of have less control of the strait. Vice President J.D. Vance weighing in on how exactly these conversations, these talks for a long-lasting ceasefire to end this war in Iran exactly fell apart. This is J.D. Vance last night on Special Report with Brett Baer.
But we also made very clear, and I think this is part of the progress we made, what the terms where the United States could make some accommodation, what terms we were flexible on, and what things we absolutely needed to see in order for the President of the United States to feel like he was getting a good deal. And so we lay those things out. We had some good conversations. I think it was the first time that you had ever seen the Iranian government, the U.S. government meet at such a high level, maybe in the history of the current leadership of Iran. So that's, I think, a positive. And again, we did make some progress in the negotiation. The big question from here on out is whether the Iranians will have enough flexibility, whether the Iranians will accept the critical things that we need to see in order for things to get done.
Well, what are the red lines, like, for Iran, and what didn't they accept? Why are we at the place we're at now?
Yeah, so back out just a little bit, Brett. What the President of the United States has said is, number one, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So all of our red lines flow from that fundamental premise, because it is one thing for the Iranians to say that they themselves are never going to have a nuclear weapon. They are willing to say that, and that's good.
Yeah, so Vice President J.D. Vance there saying they have to agree that they are no longer going to have a nuclear weapon. Want to get you up to date on your gas prices, where things stand right now at this moment. Before we do that, actually, I want to note here, as we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the hour, we're now learning that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is set to host talks for a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Now, if you remember that this is kind of the reason why the ceasefire originally began to fall apart between the U.S., Israel, and Iran, was because Israel was continuing its strikes on the militant group Hezbollah, which operates out of Lebanon. So now we're expected to see some talks ongoing now. Marco Rubio hosting those. I know they went on a little bit today here in the United States, and we'll be monitoring those and bring you updates when we get them. Crude and Brent oil prices continuing to a rising trend. Both crude and Brent oil selling around $100 a barrel. They're trending a little bit lower than they were just a few weeks ago. But things could still rise, especially if we're still seeing this kind of Strait of Hormuz drama that we brought you a few moments ago. So if we continue to see that, we could see prices continuing to rise. I want to get you up to date where fuel prices stand right now, down 1 cent from yesterday. 4.11 is that national average according to AAA. 4.12 was yesterday's. 3.64 here in Arkansas. 372 in Jonesboro. We'll have to see how long it takes maybe for a reaction on this new controlling of the Strait of Hormuz. If that brings any market reaction, any direct fuel price reaction here in Arkansas or anything like that, we'll bring you that. We'll monitor it. We're going to keep you up to date on gas prices and bring you them each and every single day that we can. Alrighty, want to get you to your first commercial break of the hour. Stick with this here, because when we come back, the resignations of both Tony Gonzalez and Representative Eric Swalwell just right on the House floor. We're going to talk about all the drama and the accusers who are now opening up in public when we come back. Welcome back here into Brookland News. Of course, it's still good to be with you here as we continue to bring you the news here on this Tuesday. Eric Swalwell, the Democratic representative from California, and the Republican representative from Texas, Tony Gonzalez. Both Gonzalez retiring, Swalwell resigning. Both those letters read out just moments ago on the House floor. We'll play that for you in the moments to come here. But it comes after multiple sexual conduct, sexual misconduct allegations. We're talking here specifically about Swalwell right now, including a rape accusation from a former staffer. Now, he has continued to deny the most serious claims, but said stepping down could avoid distracting from his work. Now, the scandal had already forced him to end his campaign for California governor, and he was also facing a possible expulsion vote on the House floor. Now, on the exact same day, Tony Gonzalez also announced that he would step down amid his own scandal. Now, Gonzalez, his story is a little different here. He had admitted to having an affair with the staffer and was under investigations by the House Ethics Committee with additional allegations involving inappropriate messages. Now, like Swalwell, he was also facing the possibility of expulsion, which led to his decision to retire. Now, both those messages read out here just moments ago on the House floor. I want to play that for you, and then we will get to some of the accusers of specifically Swalwell here. Let's go live to the House floor.
Representative, sir, enclosed is my resignation letter to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, effective April 14th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It has been my privilege to serve the residents of Texas's 23rd Congressional District. Signed sincerely, Tony Gonzalez, Member of Congress.
The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes and judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. I am aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members. Expelling anyone in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong. But it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress effective at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on April 14th, 2026. I will work with my staff in the coming days to ensure they are able, in my absence, to serve the needs of the good people of the 14th Congressional District. Signed sincerely, Eric Swalwell.
Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the chair announces to the House that in light of the resignation of the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell, the whole number of the House is 431.
Alrighty, only 431 representatives. You heard it there after both the resignation from Swalwell and Gonzalez, and got a few other absences there in the House as well. Well, accusers of Swalwell now opening up both today and this morning in an exclusive interview with CBS News. I want to play that interview for you first, and then we'll also have what Swalwell exactly said here to announce that he was innocent of these in a video he posted on Instagram. Let's take you to these accusers now. This is from this morning on CBS Mornings.
For years, out of fear.
What were you afraid of?
Well, at first I thought I was all alone.
Annika Albrecht was still in college when she says she got what she thought was a big break. California Congressman Eric Swalwell offering to stay in touch after meeting with her student group in Washington, D.C.
He offered to mentor me.
Wow.
That was, as someone who knew virtually nothing about politics at the time, or no one, that was just an incredibly generous offer that I felt very lucky to have.
She says Swalwell created a group chat with all the students and then added her as a friend on the messaging app Snapchat. Alisa Marco says she had a similar experience in 2021. She sent Swalwell a supportive message on Twitter, and to her surprise, he messaged right back.
I was so excited. I was a low-level staffer who had no real political background, and he was this established figure in Democratic politics.
They began to text, but she says he soon asked if she too was on Snapchat, where messages and photos automatically get deleted after they're viewed.
How did the tenor of his conversation change?
It started out as professional and platonic, and then slowly they became more and more explicit, asking me what I was wearing. Then one night he was on a trip and he was laying in his hotel room bed, and then he sent me a photo of his penis.
Samarco showed us text messages she sent to friends at the time about Swalwell's alleged advances. In one, she wrote, "He's snapping me right now, asking when he can see me." But beyond that, both women said little for years as they built careers as Democratic campaign strategists.
I was terrified that if I spoke out against him, then people would think that I was a loose cannon, that I couldn't be trusted.
Yeah, so that CBS News report there. Give me 1 second. Sorry, we're having some issues here on the back end of things. I apologize. Looks like we got those fixed. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. So there you go. Some more accusers also speaking out today in a press conference. Lana Jerez, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. I apologize if that is wrong. But an accuser of Representative Swalwell speaking out now in a new press conference that occurred today in California. Let's take a listen.
Just in the past few minutes, we heard a woman give an emotional account of the sexual misconduct she says she suffered at the hands of Congressman Eric Swalwell. It is detailed, it is difficult to hear, so we want to play you her entire statement. Here it is.
In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me, and he choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me. I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut.
Hard to listen to comments, that is for sure. Major allegations made there against former representative, I should say now, Eric Swalwell. Okay, we are going to sneak in another quick break. When we come back, we brought you this story just a few days ago. Lynette Hooker, she went missing. Then her husband had been arrested by Bahamian authorities in the Bahamas Now he's been released. We're going to bring you an update on that case and the search for Lynette Hooker. We're back in a moment. The search for that woman, you see there on your screen, continuing as we are now learning new details. Lynette Hooker, who is a 55-year-old woman, vanished in the Bahamas over a week ago while sailing with her husband, Brian Hooker. Now, he claims and alleges here that she fell overboard from an 8-foot dinghy near Elbow Cay on April 4th due to rough conditions. Now, he reported her missing on April 5th, prompting a search by Bahamian authorities and the U.S. Coast Guard. Search efforts later would shift to a recovery mission on April 7th after no sign of her was found. Brian Hooker was taken into custody back on April 8th for questioning, but at this point in time, again, he has been released and not charged. Now, we do have some video here. The attorney speaking out and some messages here that Brian Hooker sent somebody, one of his friends here. There are the messages there on your screen. I'll break those down first for you. The friend says, okay, did we just see all on the news? ABC World News said Lynette fell off a boat. The message goes on to say, yes, brother, I'm afraid so. The dinghy in some choppy seas on the way back to the sailboat. The wind blew me away from her and she swam towards the sailboat and we lost sight of each other pretty quickly as it was just about sundown. I drifted and tried to paddle with one oar for the next 7 hours until I washed up behind the shore of the next island over and was able to get some help finally. We are still searching. A lot is going on right now, but I thank you for checking on us, excuse me. Being on the news is a huge burden. I just had my first ever news organization call me a few minutes ago. The friend would respond, you guys are you're in our prayers. He says, thank you, friend. Our family is in hell right now. Search and rescue just called and said they had searched a bunch of areas today and no joy. They are going back out tomorrow, but a storm is coming in Wednesday. That friend would respond, please keep us informed, and if we can do anything, let us know ASAP. We got a little thumbs up, and then I know the pressure on you is hard. I'm praying hard, and if you need to talk or anything, let me know. Do you have a place to stay or on island, or are you staying on a boat? He would respond saying, thank you, Daniel, for supporting us. I got the boat back to Marsh Harbor. And the messages would go on there. So, of course, law enforcement investigating that and much more as the search for Lynette, of course, in a rescue mission now continue. He also, as the search was going on, Brian Hooker, the husband here, posted images of kind of a route here. Take it in. You'll see where it says Lynette fell off, and then where the boat was, and the drift and paddle 4 miles west, where the sailboat had been anchored at there. So that map was released as the search continued to go on. So now you're at this rescue mission point in time. Now, there were also kind of influencers on social media. That's why you see these photos from Instagram here. They were influencers who lived on a boat in the Bahamas. And some of the family had pointed out some possible domestic violence cases back I'm remembering one here specifically from 2015 that ABC News had obtained, but that had Lynette Hooker as the suspect and Brian as the victim, and it said Brian had a bloody nose according to that police report there in that investigation into all of that. So now that search is continuing, and I did not realize there was a misplaced comma there in that lower third. So the search now continuing for Lynette Hooker. We'll bring you updates as soon as we get any. Alrighty, President Trump getting a lot of backlash, specifically from Christians, after he posted an image online. I'll show it to you here, which appears to depict himself as a Jesus-like figure. Excuse me here, that is the wrong video, I apologize. As a Jesus-like figure. There you go, President Donald Trump there with his hand on somebody. U.S. forces there in the distance with an American flag. President Trump saying he thought it was himself as a doctor. This is yesterday at the White House.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it. And I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better. And I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
Now, the image, which appears to be artificial intelligence, AI generated, has gained a lot of backlash from Christians. Here is Christians weighing in on that image.
I'm not sure if you saw.
We did. I saw that. Yeah. You think you're Jesus, but you're not.
For that picture, he will be taking a one-way trip to Gehenna hell.
Oh.
I don't think President Trump posted that. I think somebody else posted that. It's whatever the media wants you to believe is what gets posted most of the time.
Even though it's on his account. I mean, the media didn't post that.
Somebody else posted that, AI or somebody. President Trump didn't post that.
I don't know if he has a Christian mentor, spiritual mentor. He definitely needs one. This is not okay by any means.
Sometimes you have to look beyond what the eye can see and see the deeper meaning from that post. What I see is a light in his hand. From what I see is him laying hands and healing the sick, which is what we have been called to do.
So there you go, Christians weighing in now to all of this information. You saw a few disagreeing, a few agreeing with the image, one going on to say that the president didn't post that, maybe it was artificial intelligence or somebody else. He says it was himself, but he thought it was himself as a doctor, though many took that as him portraying himself as Jesus. More to come when we come back. That DoorDasher who delivered McDonald's, he's seen there now in multiple videos that we played for you. We brought you actually the delivery yesterday, and some unexpected remarks from President Trump was actually from Fayetteville, Arkansas. We'll talk about it on the other side of this 2-minute break. Alrighty. Welcome back here in to Brookland News Live. A busy news day. Another busy news day as always, it feels like, in this busy world that we live in. A DoorDasher who delivered McDonald's to the White House yesterday is actually from Arkansas. So this is according to DoorDash here, what they're saying. This was DoorDash marking their first anniversary of the no tax on tips policy, of course brought to you by President Donald Trump, with a symbolic delivery to the White House, where the Fayetteville, Arkansas Dasher Sharon Simmons completed a drop-off at the Oval Office. Now, the event highlighted the policy and that it has allowed delivery workers to keep more of their tip income, with DoorDash estimating Dashers have saved hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, in all of this, the company also emphasized that the policy was shaped by advocacy from tens of thousands of Dasher and represents a broader effort to support gig workers and local economies. For Simmons and others, the policy has provided greater financial flexibility and increased earnings. Here is Sharon Simmons in an interview outside the White House. Take a listen.
Last year was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, and in the process of the treatment, even with insurance and stuff like that, I mean, let's face it, we run through our savings. You know, it happens. And by not having to deal with, you know, the tax on tips, that frees up a lot of money for my family, and it gives it to us to be able to do other things like enjoy a bunch of grandbabies.
Oh, such a lighthearted story. A live look in Brookland right now as we get you to your forecast, where things stand right now. Tonight, record highs, but a low of 68 as we go into the overnight hours. And then by Wednesday, high of 85, low of 68. Thursday, that chance of some scattered thunderstorms, them in the AM, still remaining true here. High of 81, low of 64. Now the chance for scattered thunderstorms on Wednesday has died down. So some beautiful few days we have ahead of us, and it's going to be something to follow here. Also, Crockett County now under a burn ban. I want to show you this graphic from the Arkansas Agricultural Department, showing all of Arkansas, now all 75 Arkansas counties under a moderate, wildfire danger. So now Crockett County under a burn ban. What that means, you can't burn anything, guys. Cannot, unless, of course, it has been previously approved. So no bonfires, things like that. Simply not allowed during a burn ban. Okay, I want to take you to this cool image. Okay, I don't know what you guys think about technology. Are you big into phones? I don't know why. I want the 17. I had the 16 Pro. I want the 17. But I don't know. Maybe I'll get this if it ever comes out. iPhone now launching its first ever folding phone. So you'll notice beside it, and it looks as if maybe we're having some issues with that photo there. Maybe it'll pop up this time. Does not look like it. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I'll try to get it to you. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Unexpected, but we're going to sneak in another quick break. When we come back, hopefully we can get that image to show up for you guys on the new iPhone. We'll talk about it. We're back in a moment. Alrighty, sorry. Okay, I was gonna try it one more time. Doesn't look like it's gonna show. Luckily, this is kind of what we have a backup plan for. There's an X post about it. Apple is officially ready to enter the new foldable phone market with the new iPhone Fold, featuring a new design that has never been used by anyone before. So a prototype of the phone now being released. Now Samsung, which is of course Apple's largest competitor, already has what many call kind of this flip phone, this folding phone. Now multiple reports suggest Apple now working on its own. To take a look at those images. Leaked images of Apple's upcoming iPhone Fold reveal a wide tablet-like design that opens into a larger screen similar to a size to a small tablet while still being compact enough to fit in a pocket even while closed. Now the device is expected to launch around September 2026, so fall, alongside the iPhone 18 Pro models, though its unique design may divide opinion. So now we do know there has been a little bit of a delay to it due to engineering and production challenges. Apple is still believed to be on track for a 2026 release, however, so we'll have to watch and see how that all comes about. Okay. We'll watch. We'll see. Will I buy it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't like the look at the prototype so far, and to be honest, I don't like the folding phones. I don't. So will you see Jackson with the folding iPhone? I don't think so. We'll see though. We'll see. Okay. That is going to do it for us though on this Tuesday. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media pages that have been scrolling there at the bottom of your screen, and join us weekdays at 2 p.m. We'll bring you the latest on news, weather, and more. Have a great day, you guys. You're watching Brookland News Live. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m.